Smartphones are becoming very capable devices when it comes to shooting video. Now, if you've ever done any kind of professional video shooting, you've most likely shot in a log format. Shooting in log basically means you're capturing a very flat, low contrast image. So you'll still have a lot of detail in your highlights and your shadows that gives you a lot of flexibility when grading in post. Currently shooting on my Sony a7S III and I'm shooting in S-Log3. But so recently smartphones have been including the capabilities of capturing log footage. Both the Samsung S25 Ultra and the iPhone 17 Pro Max capture log footage. Samsung log on the S25 Ultra and then Apple log on the iPhone. I will say Apple has really pushed the boundaries in terms of what you can capture with your phone with their ProRes mode. But so I wanted to do just kind of a very casual test between these two devices. I'm short on time this week, and actually this next month I will be very busy. I'm moving, doing all sorts of things, so a lot of my videos will probably have to be a little bit on the shorter side. But in this video, I captured very similar clips with the iPhone 17 Pro Max and the Galaxy S25 Ultra. Both shooting in 24 frames a second, nothing crazy, not going to do any slow-mo or anything like that, both at very similar focal ranges as well. I just wanted to get a very general idea on what the log footage looks like coming out of both of these devices. The footage we'll be looking at will be converted with their respective profiles. We'll just kind of take a look at what the color looks like, what each phone is doing with the shadows, highlights, other things like that. So get out your readers if you're pushing 30 like me, and let's do some good old classic pixel peeping. Okay, first up is a scene of my little Lego castle diorama that I've got, and it's just a quick little panning scene, but this is the S25 Ultra, and as you can see, it did a really good job with the colors on this shot. Everything looks like it's supposed to. I don't really see anything that stands out a whole lot. It might be a little cool on the blues and in the shadows, but aside from that, looks pretty good to me. The only thing I will say is the S25 Ultra on this, for some reason, wasn't wanting to focus where I wanted it to. I was trying to get it to focus more at the back, more so than the front figures. But other than that, everything looks good. Not a lot of noise. Clarity's great. Color's good. Overall, great job. And then the same shot on the iPhone 17 Pro Max. First thing that you can notice, this is a lot warmer. And that'll be kind of a thing that you notice throughout this whole video, is Apple shoots definitely on the warmer side of things. Starting off with the S25 Ultra, you can just notice it right off the bat. So it might be a little jarring. All around, it's not that bad. It is a lot more truer to what the lighting actually was, considering I have a pretty warm lamp next to it. But overall, I do think I like the look of the Samsung a little bit better in terms of the colors. Now, Apple did a better job at focusing, and it actually focused where I wanted it to versus the Samsung. And then the detail, I think, also looks a little bit better here on the iPhone. But in terms of color, in terms of the actual look that you get from the log footage, I do think I'm going to take the Samsung on this one. Moving on to a very simple panning shot of my Corsair chair here. Colors look fine again, a little bit cool again on those darker scenes, but motion-wise, detail-wise, it looks pretty good. There might be a little bit of noise that you can see just barely at the start there within the Corsair logo, but nothing super noticeable, and honestly, looks pretty good. Moving on to the iPhone shot of the same thing here. Again, you're going to notice a lot warmer in terms of the tint because the Samsung was more on the magenta side. You're getting more on the green side with the iPhone here. But again, a little bit more true to life of the actual scene. Detail's great. There's not much noise. The blending of the colors overall looks great. Shadows are good. And this is also being converted with Apple Log 2 as opposed to just regular Apple Log. Overall, I think I'm going to take the iPhone in this one just because I do appreciate how the details overall looked a little bit on the chair more. And then also the warmness of this scene just looks a little bit better to me than the cooler, more magenta of the Samsung. Moving on to the simple shot of this plant here with the Samsung. Overall, really hard to say anything negative about this. I mean, it's cooler, yes, than what it actually was. And again, you'll see on the iPhone how much warmer it is, but I don't have a problem with how this looks. It did a really good job. The shadows are good. There's not many here, but it does a good job at capturing the details of the plant. Colors, I'm okay with the colors overall. Is it cooler? Yes. The plant looks good. The greens look good. Overall, pretty happy with how the Samsung captured this. Then moving on to the iPhone, this is going to be a lot warmer again. Like I said, that's going to be the theme of this video. And I was a little bit closer with the iPhone here, and I think I was getting a little bit more of that macro lens. So I'm not going to really compare the details because it does look a little bit crisper on the iPhone, but I think that's because, again, I was a little bit closer. But overall, vibrance looks much better on Apple here with Apple Log 2. Again, a lot more truer to life. Apple does a really good job with converting things to how they actually truly look. And I also like the contrast we're getting out of this one. It was a little bit flat on the Samsung versus when you look at the iPhone here, but overall, both of them did a good job. But I would have to take the iPhone in this instance once again. Okay, I just wanted to do a quick panning shot of each device. So I'm shooting the iPhone on the Samsung here. Great details with this shot. Again, fairly cool. You're going to notice that it has that blue undertone to everything here, but it picks up great details. Highlights look good, shadows look good, because you're getting a lot of shadows on the actual case of the iPhone here, but you're not getting much noise. And then moving over to the iPhone, this is the first time that you'll notice we're not getting that much of a difference here. In terms of the coolness of each shot, it looks pretty much identical. Color-wise, it looks the exact same. So there's really not one that I would take over the other in this instance. I think you might get a little bit more detail from the Samsung just because the light might be hitting the lenses and kind of picking up the few hair particles on the lenses of the iPhone in the Samsung scene. They both did a good job, but I do think I'd have to give a slight edge to the Samsung in this scenario. Okay, moving on to some outdoor shots. There's a 5x shot on the S25 Ultra of a robin. And mind you, I haven't done any kind of editing on the clips other than converting them from log to Rec 709 using their respective profiles. So there hasn't been any sort of tweaking on any of these clips. What you're seeing is essentially what you're getting directly out of the camera once converted. But overall, good clip. I'd use it to send it to someone and say, hey, look at this clip that I got of this bird. Moving over to the iPhone, this was on the 8X. This one, I was shocked with the quality that the iPhone put out because it's a lot fuzzier than the Samsung. Now, granted, it's more zoomed in, more cropped in on the actual sensor itself, so that is to be expected, but I was kind of taken aback at how little detail I was able to capture in this clip. Colors-wise, it's not so artificially brightened like the Samsung is. I do like the overall tone of the iPhone better, but in terms of the actual clip, the actual quality of the clip, I would have to give it to the Samsung. Moving on to another clip of a bird in the tree here. This is the Samsung. Really good colors on this clip. I actually really loved how this clip turned out with the Samsung. You're getting a lot of details in the leaves. You're getting a lot of details with the water droplets on the leaves. The birds look good. You can see the two robins there, the one up top cleaning his wings. Overall, I was actually really happy with how this clip turned out, and I think the Samsung did a really good job at processing all the colors and capturing everything that was there. I don't think anything's too cool. I don't think anything's too warm. I think this was one of the more balanced shots that we've gotten out of the Samsung so far. And then moving over to the iPhone, again, using that 8X, so it's more zoomed in. And as you can see, dropping on the detail a little bit, not as clean and crisp as the Samsung at the 5X. In hindsight, I probably should have been shooting this at 4X on the iPhone, but I was trying to see what the telephoto at the 8X was capable of on the iPhone. And it's still a good clip, just not near as crisp as what the Samsung was capturing. In terms of the overall tone and colors of the clip, though, it looks just as good as the Samsung. Thought both devices did a really good job with this specific shot and this specific angle. It's just not near as much detail in the iPhone's clip as the Samsung. And moving on to my cat Oreo. Wanted to get a few shots of him using each device, and I believe this is using the 1X main sensor on both devices. Samsung was okay here. It didn't really like to focus for whatever reason. It wasn't giving it like a super clean, sharp image. As you can see, it was just always slightly out of focus. Don't know why. But aside from that, colors, again, are on the cooler side of things. A little bit darker, too. This is the first time that the Samsung actually didn't really give me like an over-brightened image. This one I noticed was just a little bit darker. Transitioning over to the iPhone, details were immediately better. It actually was, focusing on him, and it also was brightening it up quite a bit. A little bit too much for my liking. I think I'd bring the highlights down overall, and substantially better on the colors in this versus the Samsung. So it's not even close on this one. I'm taking the iPhone in terms of this shot. And I also did get a bonus shot of Oreo using I believe the 8X, which it did much better here just because I was so much closer to Oreo, but it did a really good job on getting me a very nice separated background. And last but not least, I wanted to set up each device as if I was shooting my videos with the phone. Same lighting that I have for my A7S III, same everything that I do for all my videos. But instead, I'm using a phone to shoot it. So first up is the S25 Ultra here. Right off the bat, the one thing I want to say is that my orange light is red for some reason. It turned my orange light extremely red. And you can tell just across the board, again, it is very cool. It looks pretty good. I was actually pretty shocked with how good it looks. The detail's great. The autofocus was doing a good job. My skin tones might look a little bit light, might look a little bit, again, cool. But no, it did a really good job. The biggest concern is just how red it turned my orange light. I never am a huge fan when there's a massive color shift like that. Funny enough, the Nothing Phone 3A had a really big issue with color shift like that. And this is the first time that on the Samsung that I've seen anything that drastic. But for some reason, it converted my orange to a pretty red looking orange. And then jumping over to the iPhone, again, you're going to notice much warmer here. You're getting actually a little bit more green coming out on the tint side of things, but that orange is actually orange and not red. So love to see that. A little bit more contrast on the iPhone and Apple Log 2 as well. A little bit more vibrance, a little bit more just color in general, I've noticed, and I do appreciate that look. So in a studio setting like this, I favor the iPhone a lot more just because the colors are much more accurate, and then also just a little bit more extra vibrance, a little bit more extra pop to the scene itself. So there you guys go. It was a mixed bag in terms of the things that I appreciated, the things that I liked. I think I liked the look of the iPhone's interior shots most of the time, but the Samsung honestly did a really good job with the exterior shots shooting outside. So again, it was a mixed bag. I think personally, I always will like the look of Apple Log and what they do with ProRes. But the Samsung is no slouch. I did a video back going over the low light capabilities in terms of shooting in log with the S25 Ultra. So if you want to go check that out, go check that out. But when I shot that, I was impressed with the S25 Ultra and what it could capture using its camera system, and I just continue to be impressed with what Samsung has done. But Apple continues to do a really good job. That Apple ProRes is really hard to beat. But let me know what you guys thought of this quick little test and what you think overall. Did you like the S25 Ultra? Did you like the iPhone 17 Pro Max? Let me know in the comments below. That is it for this video, guys. Thanks so much for watching, but as always, that is enough watching, enough consuming content. Guys, get out there and create something yourself. Go shoot your own videos. I will see you all in the next one.